Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Shaker Heights. Experiences may vary on this Sunday, this beautiful Sunday. Browns are getting their asses stomped, but what else is new? But the Guardians, they're doing their thing. So anyway, we got a real special guest. We got somebody that you need to put respect on his name. Okay, coming to the stage live from the Ashby Rapid stop in our minds. We have the one and only, known as the Brigadier General of the Ohio National Guard. Now, for those who know, everybody stand up and say, "At ease!" Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to bring to the stage Class of 85, Jeff Watkins. And those who don't know him, you call him General Watkins. Okay. Jeff, welcome.
Gentlemen.
Welcome. Yes.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah. When's the last time you smoked somebody doing push-ups?
Probably, I know you want to hear something like yesterday, but it's probably been about 8 years.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
So
I used to be known for making people do push-ups, and then when they wouldn't count, I'd be like, start over.
yeah.
But when I got promoted, all of that had to stop.
Yeah. Give that to the XOs to do.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, for those who are listening, we might dip in and out of mill speak, but we will explain it. But first, before we start talking,
mill speak meaning military speak.
There you go. We like to say that, and this is a disclaimer, that the DOD, Department of Defense, the views expressed here are not reflective of the DOD or the Ohio Army National Guard. So, all right. Did I get that right? Yes, I think I did. Okay.
Yes, you did.
Right.
Hey,
Yes.
Before we go on, Jeff, are you still pigeon-toed?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I didn't think Eric remembered me. Yes,
Oh.
I am still pigeon-toed, not knee, bow leg.
Okay.
Yes.
I remember that.
Yes.
Oh, that's a change up right there. Wow.
It's gotten better. It's gotten a lot better, but yes, still pigeon-toed.
Okay. Anyway, Jeff. So where are you based out of? Are you based out of Columbus now or Cleveland?
Out of Columbus. I live in a suburb of Columbus, Gahanna.
Yeah.
To me, it was the closest thing to Shaker Heights that Columbus had. So I'm living here with it's me, my wife, and my 2 daughters.
Okay.
So, a great community. Reminds me a lot of Shaker in some ways, and reminds me a lot of not Shaker in other ways. So.
Okay. Yeah. I tell you this: stay away from Walnut Ridge.
Yes.
Ridge. Yes.
I got a funny story to tell you about that later if you remind me.
I know a lot of felonious folks from Walnut Ridge. So anyway, those who know who I'm talking about. Anyway, oh man, but it's great to have you. Thank you for on the real. Thank you for taking time out on a Sunday, especially because the job is 24/7. So we definitely appreciate that.
No, I appreciate the opportunity to get on here with you guys. I think what you're doing is tremendous, and it brings back so many memories. It brings back so many different experiences because when you try to talk about Shaker and to how unique it was for us, a lot of people don't understand unless they went through that experience.
No, true indeed. I mean, we were like the total anomaly in a lot of ways. It brings up a lot of cognitive dissonance, on so many levels. So.
And in deconstructing what's going on within the United States, it's nice for us to talk about our experiences. And I really recommend this book that just came out Thursday. I'm about 90 pages in, and I'm on a chapter called monoculture, and it's very interesting. And monoculture.
Did you read Tipping Point?
Yeah, when it first came out years ago. And he wrote this book because the 90s version of the Tipping Point was very positive, a positive look at what was going on from a how should I say it, money making technological point of view. And
yeah, it wasn't.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, so basically he's looking at, what these things have turned into at this point, and speaking from culturally and what turns cultures in a monoculture, which I'm really getting into. They're more susceptible because there's not a lot of difference. It's like a molecular structure. The more mixing of people and organisms, the differences make the organism stronger. And now we're starting to see the monoculture reappear, and that's more susceptible to pandemics and diseases and that sort. So it's really interesting. So I'm always looking for things that I can read that lends itself to things that are happening in real time.
Yeah, because wasn't that the book? The first book was about the average of to be good at something was 10,000 hours approximately. You're supposed to master something. But no, definitely check that out. Question came in. We are broadcasting from the Ashby Rapid Stop. Yes, the Ashby Rapid Stop, or kind of actually between the Lee and
Ashby.
Road Ashby. Lee Road Rapid Stop right now is in horrible disrepair. It's a shame. It's a shame. I remember when they built that in the 80s, the front facade, it's crumbling. It looked like what do I want to say? It looked like a Bradley lit it up, the bricks.
Damn.
Yeah. A Bradley is a infantry fighting vehicle, for those who may not know. Was it a 30 millimeter gun or something like that? But anyway,
there'll be plenty of references. So
yeah, that's neither here or there.
Phone next to you so you can Google these things. If we don't, we're unable to interpret those.
So we're going to get into the man that is Jefferson Watkins, and you know what? I didn't know that was your full name, but it rings well, bro. Straight up, it rings well. It has heft to it. Rather than, Jeffrey, whatever, Jefferson Watkins.
It's got pageantry, that's for sure.
Yeah. Who kicked in the door? Jefferson Watkins.
Those kicking door days are done, bro. Yeah.
No, man, you have bionic knees and pneumatic boots coming in the future. You
send other people to kicking doors now.
Yeah, very true. Very true. So, So tell us, when did you arrive to Shaker? To the Shaker community or neighborhood? What neighborhood?
The Moreland neighborhood.
Okay.
I arrived in second grade. We moved 3 streets over into Shaker Heights. Ironically enough, my first grade teacher was a lady named Miss Leffridge, who we moved across the street from her. Her kids, Timmy, Teddy, and Kathy Leffridge, went to Shaker, class of 82, 81, and I want to say 79. We moved across the street from them. So I went to Moreland Elementary School. Got there, my first year was second grade. And to me, it wasn't much different. I had went to A.J. Rickoff down in Cleveland on 147th. I was born in Germany.
Okay.
Because my dad was in the military. So we came and moved over on 151st Street, and then over into the Shaker Heights, the Moreland area, which was a tremendous experience and a growth experience, and a whole new world of different people.
Did you know Tia and Brady Melton? They lived over 151st Harvard, over in that area.
No, we weren't that far over. I'm literally when I could walk to my other house in 15 minutes.
Oh wow!
So was it Hampstead? We live between Hampstead and it's Scotts Scottsdale and Shaker, but it was something else when it hit the Cleveland line. I can't think of the name of the street.
Okay, so it was across Harvard, over near the
No,
JFK.
not
No? Okay.
no, not even that far down. Literally, if you came down Lee Road to 151st, made that left, you go over a block, and then we were in the middle block between Scottsdale and Hampstead.
Okay.
So
Germany. Do you have any? Would your dad Army, Air Force?
my dad was Army.
Okay.
He was in the infantry, but then applied to be in the Army band.
Okay.
So my dad was a saxophonist in the Army band.
Wow.
He was military for 10 years. Ironically enough, I am the my older brother. So I have an older brother, Anthony Watkins, class of 82. You probably know him as Bino. And then my younger brother, class of 91. Yeah.
Okay.
So I was the only one born in Germany. Both of my siblings were born in Cleveland.
Okay.
Yes.
Second grade. So who did you connect to at Moreland in second grade that you're still in touch with today?
Man, Scott Griffin.
Yes.
So back then, they had third grade and second grade in the same class.
Yeah.
So Scott was in my class with Miss Bloodsaw, and still have arguing about comic books. So man, we can just go through Alvin Elder.
Okay.
So going picking Sidney Lewis, class of 82, was one of my big brothers. The Leroy. Then Pennington, you had Bill McRae, who didn't go to Moreland. Bruce and Harvey Gardner, Amy Gardner, Bruce Jackson, Dion Hines. You go up to Ludgate, Mike McElroy, Arthur and Jimmy Jenkins, Daryl Jones, Mark Flanoy. You go up to Hildana, was Sean and Scott Griffin, Darren Gates, Anthony Walker. And then you go up another street. Brian Moore was class of 83 or of 84.
Oh, Brian Moore, I think it was 84.
So we had in that area. Yeah, then you had Derek Burgess, Eric Harris, who still handles my financial matters for me.
Yes.
Tony McKnight. You just a plethora of guys who in that Moreland area that were very talented and pushed each other. Super smart guys, very athletic. We were all sports, football, basketball. Came very close to moving near you, Gabe.
Really?
My uncle lived on Keswick.
Really? Wow.
Yes. Right across the street from Jason Johnson. Curtis Watkins. He's a police officer.
Watkins. That sounds faintly, vaguely familiar. Wow. Well, who knew, man?
Yeah,
okay.
And I played golf with Jason Johnson the other day.
Wow. Jason, yes. Man, that's going way back, man.
Who played golf at Jackson State with Mark Nance, who we hope to bring up.
Yes, he did. Yes, he brought that up.
Yeah, the connections.
So, Moreland was a unique experience as well because I want to say second grade teacher, third grade teacher, and sixth grade teacher were African American females. Principal was African American male.
Representation matters, man.
Yes, it does.
Especially at an early age. At an early age, man. It's funny. I think about, Bill McRae. Retired a couple of years back.
Yes.
And Harvey's still in, I believe.
I think Harvey is still in, but I want to say he's overseas. Alvin Elder retired probably about 4 years ago.
Okay.
He made it up to Master Sergeant.
Oh, right on. Did you run into any of these guys while you were,
Well, Alvin retired from the National Guard.
Okay.
So we've kept in touch since we were 7 years old?
Yeah.
I ran into Bill McRae down at Fort Bragg.
Okay.
I was sent down there after 9/11, and I was standing in line to get some money. He turns around and it was just kind of like, holy shit, it's Bill McRae. But
Right.
then we, kept in touch like that. Few other Shaker people that I know were in the military. Mike High School. I want to say Courtney McLean was in the Navy.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we got quite a few more that, but Harvey Gardner was the first person I really met when I came to Shaker.
Okay.
Yeah. So he was, I remember walking over to his house because he was like, come over here. And then that's when I met his younger brother, Bruce. So.
Right.
Did your father influence Billy McRae?
Oh, no.
No?
Bill, Bill was always that guy that was super sharp, just on top of it. And when he said he was going to West Point, you just knew Bill was off to do great things.
Yeah. Yeah.
My parents divorced probably when I was in 5th or 6th grade. So it was more my mom. So like Ron Hall, like I said, Ron Hall was in that neighborhood as well. And we all went to Woodbury.
Yeah. And at Woodbury, what I remember about you at Woodbury, you were a wrestler.
Yes.
Yes.
Wasn't very good at Woodbury.
I don't even have a reference point for that, but I just remember you wrestled, like you and Paul Bounds.
Yes. And that's where I met Paul Bounds.
And I think Harvey wrestled, didn't he?
Harvey didn't wrestle, no.
He played football then. I think
Harvey played football. Bruce played football.
Yeah.
Basketball. Guys on the wrestling team were me, Paul Stupé.
Yeah, I remember him.
Ron Hall, and a few other people.
Yeah.
John Barmel, Steve Duffett.
Yes, man. So let's talk about Woodbury. I mean, what so you had a crew, right? Were they mostly like the wrestlers, or you just floated around?
I floated around, but mostly if Paul Bounds was someplace, I was there.
Right. Okay.
The comic book conversations continued with me and Paul.
Yeah.
Quite a bit that me and Scott Griffin used to have. But it was mostly comic books, and Woodbury was a great experience. Of course, following the older brother through school at that time wasn't that fun. So when I got to Woodbury, he had just got to Shaker because at that time we were 7, 8, 9.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Dino was an incredible football player, and trying to follow in those footsteps was not very easy. At all. Not very easy at all. He hung around Alan Waller, Sidney Lewis, but James Poor, all those guys from Orlando Lowry.
Oh yeah. Right.
Watching them play football.
James Poor was a running back, wasn't he?
James Poor was a running back. So was my older brother. The brother's also a defensive back. James Poor is Tony Lett's older brother. Class of '86, Tony Lett. So James lives in Indianapolis or Indiana, owns like 10 McDonald's or something.
Wow. Man. Wow. It's interesting because, we had Paul on a couple of weeks back. We got into a little sidebar about comics and everything. How big is your collection? Do you have an estimate of how many comics you have?
Nowhere near the size of Paul's. I stopped collecting pretty much after I only get certain issues.
Yeah.
Maybe 600 comic books.
Okay. Well, man, that's something to sneeze at.
I caught before my mom threw them away.
That's always the classic thing, man. Mom's throwing away comics, baseball cards. Like, Mom, that's portfolio. If we only knew. Knew.
So yeah, my mom threw quite a few away. I'm a big Batman fan.
Okay.
I get into a Paul. Paul always tells us Superman could kill Batman in a second, and I'll be the guy going, now that Batman has time to prepare for it, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Right.
Stuff like that.
I sent Eric this a couple of weeks ago. I'm going to find it. I'll send it to you. But there's a company out of Akron, and this guy did a reimagined Batman mask, and he's like doing like limited quantities, but they're something that you would put on your wall. Really nicely kind of done, but it definitely captures like the grimy Gotham aesthetic.
Okay.
Yeah.
We
Oh, by the
but
way, shout out to my friend Richard Ewan, who I went to college. He didn't go to Shaker, but he did all the background sets for the Joker, which I just saw, which I recommend.
oh,
It's getting panned by the critics, but he works out in Hollywood. He's a set designer, set executor. I don't know what his official name for his job is. He's been doing it for over 25 years, and he's worked on a few Batman sets. So yeah, it's definitely. And I said, "Where did you find that place to film the prison?" And he said, "Oh, that was I fabricated that. Me and my crew fabricated all that. That did not exist." So
nice.
if you just for the scenery and how it's done, go see the movie just for that.
We'll do. We'll do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So at
Joker.
Woodbury, we when I started wrestling, since my older brother was at Shaker, we knew some of the wrestlers.
Hmm.
We would walk over to Shaker and practice.
Oh, okay.
After our practices, we walk over there and try to get with some of the guys that we knew who were older guys and just learn some moves. And ironically enough, the first time we ever did it, we walk in the wrestling room. We thought it was a crappy little wrestling room down there off the middle of the building. And this big guy comes walking over, like, "Hold on, coach, you got to tape my fingers." Got this huge, deep voice, and we looked up, and it was Coach McIntyre. At that time, we didn't know he was a coach.
Oh, wow. Okay.
We thought he was a student.
Right.
And I remember looking at Ron Hall going, "This is what the high school guys look like, man. We're in trouble." He walks over to us and "Hey, gentlemen, how you doing?" And we're just like, "Fine," one of those
Yeah.
things. But he proceeded to walk out on the wrestling mat and throw somebody around, and we're just like, somebody goes, "That's Coach McIntyre." That's Coach Mac. Okay, got it. But
Yeah.
incredible man. I still call, ask him questions, keep in touch with him. He actually came to both my promotions, to Colonel and
Wow.
to
Right on.
General, which was awesome for him to be there and to be able to say, "Yeah, my high school wrestling coach is here." He's one of the few people that had no issues with me listening or paying attention, because he
Hmm.
would literally throw me against the wall if I didn't.
Yeah. Tough love.
Yes.
Yeah.
Have a
Yeah.
great deal of athletic influence coming out of Woodbury. So,
Yeah.
What was that wrestling environment? I think of people like Gardner Kibler and my best friend James Longs. I think he was captain the year
so
before.
James Long was
83.
captain my sophomore year. Gardner Kibler, Dan Chilton, Jay Kiker, Keith Asamoto,
Yeah.
Tim Perkins, Curtis Dagenfelder.
That's right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Skinny
So
Curtis.
when I was in 8th grade, I lost a match to Curtis Dagenfelder.
Wow.
Wow.
What
Yeah,
was it, by
he
points or by pin?
by points.
Okay.
That he never let me. He never ever let me forget.
So did you
When I
punish
got
him
to
from that point on? From Shaker,
no,
did you punish him?
my comeback would always be, "I'm gonna be a 3-year letterman because I took your job." So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
no, it was, Venables, Barmel. Who else? David Holly, Mike Schultz, John Zach. Uh,
What time would you guys get to school? It seemed like you guys were going to the showers as we were coming in the side door. Did you
there,
guys get there at 6 or
it depends
what
on
was
what year
your
you're talking about. So, uh, after a while, so I think my junior year, Coach McIntyre would work out with some of us in the morning,
Mhm.
Hmm.
and we would do different lift weights. That's when the Nautilus equipment came. Don't
Oh,
know if you
okay.
remember that. When
Nautilus. Yes.
we filled that room up with the Nautilus equipment, we had that universal piece of crap. but we filled it up with the Nautilus equipment.
Mhm.
But we would come up there and do some early practices, but most of our practices were after school. Practice started at about 3:30, finished about 5:30, 6 o'clock, depending on what kind it was. Because most of the time we had too many kids to be in that little bitty room, so lighter weights would go run, heavier weights in the room, but
Hmm.
or things of that nature. Dave DeMarco, Evan Balaguer, so those guys. My junior year, my sophomore year, we were not very good at all.
Okay. That's
My
what Lake Erie League.
Still Lake Erie League.
Okay.
Cleveland Heights pretty much ran the Lake Erie League.
Okay.
My junior year, we had a influx of some talented sophomores, and we were average. My senior year, we were probably one person away from being able to really compete and win the league. We got some incredible sophomores there. Still to say, Ron Hall was probably the best wrestler on the team. Uh, I think Mike Schultz, me, and there was one other senior, Damian Hampton. We only had three seniors my senior year. We were competitive, but wrestling was just that afterthought sport at Shaker. Over the last 20 years, they've had some state champions.
Oh, okay.
They've really improved, really have improved the program. With the coaches, the year after I graduated, Coach McIntyre, Coach Morgan stepped down, and Dave Sedmak and um, Coach Schwartz became the head coaches, and they brought a
Okay.
different energy and a different vibe. We were sick of playing second fiddle to the other schools. We had some talented kids. We weren't always there at the same time,
Hmm.
but we had some talented kids. But I think it gave you it gave you some resilience.
Yeah.
It takes a lot to not have another guy pin you or just beat the crap out of you. Uh, my senior year, I think, of course, was my best year of the three overall. But
Hmm.
I went to, after took a year off from high school, joined the military. When I went to Kent State, I was on the team there for 2 years,
Okay.
and it was different
Okay.
wrestling in college.
Yeah,
Uh,
I can imagine. Because
a
they're
lot.
like what, Division 1 or Division 3? What are
No,
they?
Kent's Division 1.
Division 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
so Kent's Division 1, and a lot of talent in the Northeast, Ohio, Michigan, Western Pennsylvania area. A lot of
Yeah.
talent coming out of those areas. So we had a very good team. My coach at the time, I can't remember his name because I'm getting old. There was Coach Romano, and I can't remember the head coach's name, but he was like number 2 on his all-time greatest list behind Dan Gable, the
Well,
legendary Iowa.
you think about St. Ed's and the football tradition. Everyone that played football at a high level wrestled. So you got
Yes,
a lot of your Catholic school wrestlers, and then you get kids coming out of Canton and that area. Yeah,
they recruited. St. Ed's had that one kid. He went to Cleveland Heights. Young Jew, Alan Freed, young Jewish guy. It was
Hmm.
like, what are you doing at St. Ed's? But they had an incredible wrestling program. Their coach at the time, Howard Ferguson, he would let people in the summer come practice at his house.
Oh.
So they invited everybody so they wouldn't get in trouble for having practices. So
right. They're
if you wanted to
unofficial
test
official
yourself,
practices. Yeah.
yes. But there was top talent at those events, in terms of wrestling overall. I think Shaker has, in the late 90s and early 00s, Shaker had talent that rivaled some of the St. Ed's guys in terms
Really?
of the wrestlers
Wow.
that they were putting out. St. Ed still had a complete overall team,
Hmm.
but you had some individuals that have went through Shaker that were extremely talented.
Yeah, I always think about the Golics, Bob Golick and his brother.
Well, they
They're
went to St. Joe's, I thought.
Oh, I thought it was Ed's. I always mixed them up. There's a
Yeah.
pipeline to Notre Dame,
Yeah, Bob Golick and that guy used to be on Mike and Mike in the morning.
Yeah, Mike Golick. Bob and Mike Golick, yeah.
I want
One
to say they
played.
went to Joe's.
Okay. All right.
So when you were at Shaker with when we were at Shaker, I should say, all of us. What were you as you got to your senior year? Besides wrestling, what were you thinking? Was the military on your mind, or what were you thinking about? Bigger picture after.
Uh, I wasn't, I kind of coasted through Shaker. Unfortunately, didn't take it serious to my senior year
Hmm.
in terms of my grades and everything else. Um, I remember Phil Backman, or I think that was his name, telling my mom, if he doesn't get his act together, he's never going to amount to anything. And it was
Hmm.
like my one promotion would tell my mom, hey, we're going to go call Mr. Backman up and let him know what's going on right now, what I amounted to. So my dad didn't want me to go in the military
Mm.
because of how he thought they treated African American males.
Yeah.
So my dad was in the military. My uncle Kurt was armor NCO. On my mom's side, most of them were in the Air Force. But I do have an uncle on my dad's side of the family, my uncle Eddie. He was in World War II.
Hmm.
He was that uncle. I think everybody's got that uncle gives you the little peppermints, always smiling, always in a good mood. Things like that.
Yeah.
Well, Uncle Eddie was in the Navy. He joined the Navy at 16. He lied and got in the Navy.
That's
And
my
that's
father's
when,
story. Yeah, Navy. My dad was in World War II as well. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Just adding in.
no, that's when they desegregated the Navy was when my Uncle Eddie got in. So they put two blacks on every destroyer and sub. And at the
Mm.
time, Uncle Eddie was one of the first ones that they did that with.
Oh wow.
And
Okay.
when he got to the sub, um, the other guy didn't show up. He had gotten sick. So my Uncle Eddie was the only one on that sub. He said he had one bad experience, and the other guys he was a cook, so they were going to take care of him.
Oh yeah, yeah. You
But
don't mess with the cooks.
Mhm.
Cooks will
no,
get you.
but I didn't know that story until I was well out of high school, and it was kind of
Wow.
like you guys are hiding this history, and then after you learn it, and you start having those conversations with them about he said it set his demeanor. Uh, Again, he had one bad experience that the other soldiers took care of, but he said it was a great time. He was poor, didn't have a lot, and he
Yeah.
saw the military as a way to start developing and doing something. And he knew he wanted to have a family, and he was in for 6 years, but just understanding what he went through and how we were treated was totally different back then. He didn't have Facebook, he didn't have any kind of social media,
Yeah.
and he was, basically on the ship by himself. He didn't even, it was years later that the guy from Men of Honor uh, would come in, but he said he had to keep his mouth shut and just bide his time. But he was able to have a paycheck, get married, and start sending money home to take care of the family that he eventually would have. My other
Hmm.
uncle was an armor guy, and he told me about experience he had when he was they were down at Aberdeen.
Oh yeah.
There was two blacks in the platoon. They stopped to get food, and the owner of the restaurant wouldn't serve them because him and another black were in the platoon. So his platoon leader said, "Well, can we order food to go?" And the guy said, "Yeah." So he ordered like 30 hamburgers. He ordered a bunch of French fries and a bunch of drinks. And as soon as they put the hamburgers on the grill, that platoon leader got the rest of the platoon to say, "We're out of here. We're not going to buy food from a place that not going
Nice.
to serve us."
Yeah.
But he said a lot of his experiences were like that. So when I went in, I had a lot of those kind of thoughts going in my head. Now,
Hmm.
unfortunately, on in the guard on Green Road, I want to say that unit was like 95% African American male.
Mm.
So I'm thinking, okay, this can't be too bad. But then as you start going up the ranks, you start seeing less people that look
Yeah.
like you, or you're getting singled out for certain things, or you're being highlighted, which you feel like is because of the color of your skin. and not your ability to get the job done. And I thought a lot of my peers never understood that. I had a different drive, a different goal,
Hmm.
stemming from you have to be better, you have to do your job better, you have to execute better, you have to be smarter, you have to study more, you have to keep going.
Right.
And I didn't have a lot of that coming out of Shaker because, like I said, I slacked off. But I met some incredible guys in the military that kind of put their arm around your shoulder. You always got that. You have a great deal of potential if you would apply yourself.
Diamond in the
You
rough.
know, you hear that from certain people. So my company commander uh,
Hold on a
pissed me
second.
off.
I'm getting lost. So when you went to Kent State, did you join the ROTC while you were at Kent State, or how did you find the
I, w-
military?
I was in the military before I went to Kent State.
Okay, so
Oh,
you
okay.
okay
So
took a year
I
off.
joined the Guard because they were helping to pay my tuition.
Hmm.
I was in ROTC at Kent State for like 2 weeks.
Okay,
So the way ROTC works, if you do basic training in AIT, you don't have to do the first 2 years ROTC.
hmm
They
Yeah.
don't explain that very well. So
Right.
when I went and talked to the one guy, I didn't think he explained it well, and I was like, I'm not going to be taking classes that aren't going to help me graduate.
right.
So it was several years later when I went to OCS, Officer Candidate School.
Green to gold. Right. Basically.
No, ROTC is green to gold.
Okay.
More so. OCS can have some green to gold. There's a federal OCS program, and then the National Guard. I think each state has their own OCS program.
I see.
So for 18 months, I would drive down to Rickenbacker down here in Columbus. I was living in Kent at the time. I was working at a place called Oriana House, community-based corrections,
Hmm.
um, and I wanted to challenge myself. Um, I wanted to challenge myself, and so going to OCS was one way to do that. And when we first
Yeah.
started OCS, we had like 300 of us in our
Wow.
initial classes. We graduated 24.
Ooh.
Uh, they were intentionally rough on us. It was like basic training on steroids,
Yeah.
of the and the stuff, of course, of the stupid stuff, or hey, this button's button here, and they would walk down the hall, but your classmate or your teammate's button's not buttoned the same way. So it was
Yep.
like attention to detail, stuff like that. And they were just ruthless on us. I remember, we were joking before about doing the push-ups. I was doing a PT test, and the guy who was grading me put me right above a puddle. And I mean, he
Yeah.
made me hit the ground
Yeah.
on every one and kept telling me I wasn't going low enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, my chest was slapping against the puddle. He's like, "You're not going low enough." And it was like, you couldn't say anything back, you
Yeah.
know. Uh,
So let me ask you this. So when you went to Kent State,
yep.
before you went to the military, you were thinking you needed money to go to school. But were you thinking
Yes.
that you wanted to make a career out of the military when you graduated from Kent State, or did you when
At
did
no
that?
point in time. Um, at no point in time. So, when you first start your contract, it's a 6-year active and then 2 years inactive is what we call it. So 8 years. I
Okay,
had graduated from Kent State before my 6 years were up. And so I extended because I was having fun. It was inconvenient at times, but I was meeting some good people. I was having fun. I was getting to blow shit up. I was getting to do different things. So it was fun.
Oh, okay.
Um,
So, pause right there, real quick. So, yeah, what was your military occupational specialty? Your MOS. What did you
so,
gravitate toward?
oh no, when I first joined, I went with another guy up to the recruiter. We were talking,
Hmm.
and he said something. And I was like, as long as I'm back in time before summer, I don't care what I do. And he's like, you got to do A, B, C, and D.
Yeah.
And I did everything he told me to do. I shipped out in January of '86.
Okay.
and he got me back on like Memorial Day.
Where'd you go? Where'd you do basic?
So I did basic at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri.
Lost in the Woods.
If you're
Yes.
ever there in January and February, it is just horrible.
I will co-sign on that along with Fort Sill because I did Fort Sill in the middle of winter.
And then I went to Alabama for my job. I was NBC specialist. I was a decon specialist.
Yeah.
Being at Shaker, being around so many different kids, so many type of kids, gave me had my eyes open to like there are different people from different walks of life. Some rich, some poor, middle class, hillbillies, hoods, whatever you want to call it. And so it was interesting in basic, I was told you talk white, you talk too proper. I had a friend.
Who was that coming from? Was that coming from people of color from the hood in the South?
It was coming from people of color and guys from like Laura, Alabama and Arkansas that had never talked to black people. They were like, you talk kind of proper. And it was at a point in time that, you either pay attention or you didn't pay attention. Oh, you're uppity. Yes.
Yeah.
We had this one guy who was from Africa. I remember we were out on the range shooting, and his name was Ikwabuke or something. And he couldn't shoot. And I remember the drill sergeant telling him to take the front receiver off of the weapon. Because, you could take the weapon apart, Eric, and take the front receiver off and use it as a blow dart, and that he would qualify then. And not one of us said a word. We had, the Puerto Rican guys that when we had a fixed bayonets, the drill sergeants would say shit like, hey, Puerto Rican guys, help everybody out, try to teach them how to, work the knife, stuff like that. They didn't care.
Yeah, drill sergeants did not give a fuck.
Anything. We didn't have dress cards, but I had a friend, Laura Shapiro. Laura would send me Pop-Tarts, and she would paint the Pop-Tart package like rainbow colors and put all this goofy stuff on them. And be like, hey, Jeffy, I hope that mean, old, nasty, stupid drill sergeant isn't still messing with you. And it'd be on the outside of the wrapper. And they would be reading this stuff, what stupid drill sergeant you talking about, Watkins? And to be like,
oh man,
But it was a great experience because there's a couple guys I'm still in contact with from then. That was January of '86. Then going down to Alabama was a different experience.
Yeah.
We actually drove through a Ku Klux Klan rally in the back of the cattle trucks one time. And again, there was only 4 of us who were black in the platoon, and we're kind of in the back of the cattle truck, concerned. And one of the guys was like, "Look at the brothers; they all scared, sitting back there. Y'all ain't tough now." You're like, "Wait till we get back to the barracks, motherfucker." Yeah. But Gabe, I know when you went through AIT, they had that off limits places.
Yeah.
And basically, so they had the platoon sergeant they read that list, and the platoon sergeant kept us afterwards. There was 4 black guys and this Hispanic guys named Edward Gallegos, and he gave us another list of places that we probably shouldn't go.
Yeah.
And it was funny. He walks out the room, and Gallegos goes, "What do you guys want to do now?" And I think it was Robinson was like, "Hey, we got an alphabetical list. Let's go find out what's so important about these places." And we hit every place on that damn list.
Yeah.
And we'd come back to formation on Monday, black eyes, busted lips and shit like that. And we were playing football. We were playing basketball. And at the end of the cycle, the drill sergeant was like, "You dumb motherfuckers could have got yourselves killed."
Yeah, real talk.
Yeah, he wasn't joking. And it was just different. And being at Shaker, but I think being at Shaker, being exposed to so much of that, being on the border of Cleveland, having relatives in Cleveland, we weren't poor, but we weren't rich, but having friends who were well off, having friends who weren't, having having that work ethic built into you. Having a paper route, having going to shovel driveways, going to cut grass, paint, whatever. We had a different work ethic and the ability to communicate with people, whether they were from Shaw, Cleveland Heights. We all used to go over to Parma to the mining company,
Oh
or to
yeah,
Willoughby South,
yeah.
or team. So having dealt with that, or having the talk with your parents about if the police ever stop you,
Mhm.
while you're driving, and haven't had that happen, and being able to communicate and talk to people, understanding when they're trying to insult you, and understanding that you have two options.
Yeah.
You can either, let them let if no if they F around, if they can find out, or you can let them know that because I'm more intelligent than you, because I have a better thought process than you, because I'm able to think this out, I'm not going to respond the way you want me to, but here are the
Exactly.
Mhm.
facts of the situation. And so
Right.
on, learning how to develop those skills, and talk to people, um, and keep growing and developing, keep educating yourself. After I became a lieutenant, it was the same thing. Very few blacks, or you're an OCS. I was the number 2 graduate in my OCS class. I got the leadership award, um, but it was still challenges. Physically, I was able to do everything everybody else could do, but there were
Right.
some people there that were just smarter about the Army, and you was like, you're always picking their brain. I was always asking questions, or how do you do this better? I'd be up at night with my flashlight in my bed, or studying and stuff like that, because it was a desire to show I was better than you, and that I was prepped to be better than you, and everything I get I'm going to earn, but still
Mhm.
fighting the stigma of they needed a token, they needed a black person to have this position. That's why you're getting opportunity, and I took all as many opportunities as I could,
Yeah. Right
uh,
on.
and whether and there were some opportunities I
You
struggled
still
with
had to
getting.
be qualified, or you wouldn't be in position to take that opportunity.
Yes, getting my schooling done, but people only see the fact that you're getting the opportunity and they're not.
Yeah.
And there, even to this day, there are still people that see that you're getting the opportunity, they're not, and you have to have those conversations. I was in my office not too long ago. It was about 4 years ago, and two guys were in my office. One was from Parma, and the other guy was from, I can't remember where he's from. And I just went to a lacrosse meeting because there's a program trying to bring lacrosse to the down here to the inner city of Columbus.
Oh
And
wow. Nice.
in my office, I have a chess set, and then the one guy's like, lacrosse, wrestling, chess. I don't get it. And the guy from Palmer was like, he ain't black. It was like, what is that supposed to mean?
Oh, I'm
You
so
know,
tired of those types of conversations. Or
yes,
Did you guys come across the new stats that came out this week, according to the changes in affirmative action? It was based on the changes on who was the reason why they took down affirmative action, because a lot of Asians complained that they were missing out opportunities because black people were getting opportunities, and they looked at the changes based on the Supreme Court decision to kill affirmative action, basically. And the numbers of Asian students that were allowed into Ivy League schools went down even further. So it wasn't even about that. They found out that it was that they proved that was a flawed statement or a flawed view, and that the black students that were being able to go to Ivy League schools, it's lowered a little bit, but it didn't change for the reasons that they felt would change the most were changing affirmative action. I have to read more into it, but basically they're saying that the um, the alumni that went to those schools those are the people that are getting in and getting the most opportunities to go to those schools.
Oh, yeah, legacy babies.
Yeah,
Legacy
legacy,
kids,
exactly.
Yeah. Well, I could say that, for example, like UC Berkeley, I went there for grad school, but the largest, quote unquote, minority on campus were Asians from the Pacific Rim. And the reason why, because they were international students, and so they were able to charge them more money. So therefore, Berkeley, one of two public California schools, was bringing in more Asians from the Pacific Rim area than in-state, blacks and Latinos who live nearby. And the perception was like Berkeley was locally around the Oakland, Richmond, Emeryville area. Berkeley was kind of viewed as like, oh, hostile. We can't go there because we don't see anything that reflects us. And the black population on Berkeley, I mean, I don't know what it is now, but when I was there, 2015 to 2017, I mean, it was maybe about 4%. But so yeah. When people talk about it, yeah, go ahead.
The ones who get the legacy, they don't see that as any type of entitlement or privilege. They see that as their right, because my parent went there. We still have a lot of that within the military, within our organization. And sometimes it's difficult to bite your tongue. People think because you're an Army officer that you're a specific political party, that you're going to be a Republican off the bat because whatever reasons. And if you're not, they look at you different. But you don't have my experience. You don't have some of the things I've been through, some of the BS that I've dealt with. I don't have some of the stuff you've been through and some of the BS that you've dealt with.
Yeah, I definitely think, especially in the Army. Yeah, there's a caste system. You look at back in the day, people paid for their commissions to lead soldiers, like in the Civil War. If you were part of the gentry, you could pay to be a commander and have no training at all to lead soldiers. And I still think, from my experience coming in later in life into the military, I still think, the caste system is there, especially with the, and this is not a knock on the academies, but with the academies, I mean, they have their, this might be a harsh word, and they have their cabals, I saw that with, General, Brooks and Petraeus. And, I got, somebody was telling me about how they were neck and neck in terms of, going up the ranks and everything, and how that was like a dividing crew there, who you down with,
Yeah, but Petraeus, when he was there, was dating the commandant of student's daughter. So some people were picked out and selected. A guy I went to the Army War College with, he just got his 4th star. Xavier Brunson, and you look at this guy, and he's Luke Skywalker. He's a Jedi. He's super intelligent, articulate. He is one of the best leaders I've physically ever met in person. The demeanor, the actions, the what is it? The vocal matches the audio. He is that guy in terms of taking care of soldiers and leading, and constantly learning and studying and developing, because how I led as a company commander had to be evolved. Because when you look at some of the kids that I'm leading now, they were born in 2000, 2001.
Whole different vibe, man.
Different mentality, of the stuff that we dealt with or we went through or how we were raised. And having conversations and talking to them, some of the stuff they don't care about or how they communicate. It's like, I have buddies now. Don't text me like I'm 18 years old.
Right.
You just call me on the phone.
Yeah. I remember when I was going through basic at Fort Sill, and I was, my nickname was Geezer because I was like one of the oldest guys in my platoon. But my drill sergeants, they were in their mid-20s, mid to late 20s. They were taking the break from deployments, going down the being drill sergeants. But I remember one of them having an off the record conversation with me when I was doing CQ duty. It was like, Tolliver, I'm supposed to be here to train soldiers. I'm not here to be a reparenter. And that's what most of my time is spent doing, is being a reparenter. And it was a very profound statement because I could see that. I remember one of the guys in my platoon called his mom because he was legacy baby. Called his mom. I forget where his parents were stationed at, and she called, the company commander. How come they're not getting their snivel gear? They're under, and it's cold out and stuff like that, and all that, stuff trickled down, and we got smoked for it, So and so's mom called, So
Yeah, I wonder about that. It seems like it's exaggerated. You hear these stand-ups talk about this stuff, and I hear about it of like parents going on job interviews with millennials or what have you.
Yeah.
Are you seeing anything like that? I mean, I can't even imagine if people from our era.
It's a different realm. It's there's a lack of discipline, I want to say, in the world overall. In the military, you're being too hard. So right now, there was a study out a couple years ago, talk about our recruiting numbers are down across the board, all the services.
Yeah.
Some people are making missions, some people aren't. But the overemphasis is young people think if you come in the military now, you're going to leave with mental problems. So sometime in the 90s, in 94, they attempted to have this program. They had stress cards. So if you were in basic training and the drill sergeants are just, hammering you, you pull out this card, they back off.
I didn't know that was for real.
it was a real thing.
We never had it at ours.
Discipline has eroded every year.
Yeah.
And it's not anything I don't think the millennials are doing. As you're afraid that if you're too rough on them, they're going to get out. They are not going to want to come in because buddies talk to buddies. You don't want to join that. You don't want to deal with that. They want to question why am I doing this? And you're trying to train the best as you possible. Our mission is to deter war. And if we can't deter war, it's to fight and win the nation's battles. And so you are training these young people to go to war. They have to be physically fit, mentally sound, have to work together as a team. I still think the Army the military produces the best teams ever, but you also have to have confidence, faith, and trust in that person on your left and right that they're doing their job. And there's a 100%. Lack of discipline. If you can't run around Shaker's track one time, can I trust you to be there and have my back? And then if I yell at you too much, or if I make you focus too much on your physical fitness, are you going to go whining to somebody? And who are they whining to? And a lot of it is the parents. My son, my daughter says you're doing this. Yeah, we're trying to make them better.
Wow.
So
that was expected. I want to ask you this. I mean, I'm seeing trend-wise the fitness level of women. How is that? How are you seeing that in the military? Has that made a difference? Is that?
I think a lot of the fitness level women, in terms of certain exercises, I got some women,
or just their approach or attitude, because I'm seeing like women really take on traditionally masculine roles. So I'm wondering how that portrays itself in the armed forces.
You have female infantry officers, you have female rangers. There's some, just like any segment, some incredible females out there that are able to do those jobs and keep up and be the best version of themselves. That's just a sign of the future.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It seems like they go hand in hand, like physicalness it reminds me of wrestling. You prepare yourself mentally by building
Yes.
yourself up physically. I'm
You have
seeing
to.
women start to look at themselves in the same way that the traditional male would,
They're
and
starting to embrace
meanwhile,
it.
yes, exactly. So I would think that the soldier would evolve, if you will. I'm not trying to say that it's a good or bad thing. I'm just saying, is there a difference compared to when you were coming up through the military? Because my
When I
sister was
first,
one of the first women allowed in Germany, and she went through a lot of stuff. So I'm seeing that evolution in real time.
it was your sister in the Army, Navy, Air Force.
She was in the army, and she was one of the few women. She was
She
experimented in Giebelstadt, Germany.
she was probably a clerk or administration, maybe
No,
logistics.
she was military police. She was coming up through the
So
military
that's where
police.
I am. But up in the 70s, they wouldn't let females into the military police. And some of the standards were you had to drag a 90-pound dummy or something across the
Right.
room to be able to get that MOS. So
Hmm.
there are plenty of women in the military police now. There, I don't think there's a branch or a military occupational specialty that women are not in right now. The physical part of it is, as you put on all that equipment, you got another 75 pounds on you.
Mhm.
Can you keep up with doing that? The mental strain, we put a lot on the women when we start saying they start having children and families, and it changes their
Yes.
thought process. But overall, there's been a shift in the female leadership, and it's no different than when I was coming up. You're a black male, you can't handle the burdens of leadership. It's being a black quarterback, and you don't have the
Exactly.
mental capacities. It's
Hmm.
proving yourself time and time again while making sure you don't act the way they think they're stereotyping you to act. There's
Right.
been so many times that I've wanted to just lash out, snap, go off, and you have to just come home and punch my punching bag,
You have to Jackie
because if you
Robinson your way through it. Yeah.
yes, if you
Yeah.
do it the way but there's a couple of times that you've had to let people know you can't just say what the hell you want to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm here because I'm supposed to be here. I'm here because I worked my ass off. I did the jobs you didn't want to do. I lead the people you can't lead. You know,
Exactly.
trying to be transformational, trying to build people up. I will take the overweight kid that has the attitude of I want to be here. I will take
Yeah.
that kid if they have the heart. I don't want the arrogant kid. There's
Mhm.
some things that you want people to be arrogant in. There's some people you want that hunger, that strive, that they have that fire in them to do well, and they just need a little extra pushing. You know,
Yeah. Well, I'll say this about the women. Like, I feel like we've been historically behind other countries' militaries in terms of women integration, in terms of jobs that were typically for men being soldiers. And I remember when I was in Afghanistan, I was on a Black Hawk, and the two women were door gunners. The door gunners were two women, and that was a surprise to me at that time because this is like 2009, 2010, and there was still some hand wringing about allowing women in combat, but it was already happening. There was already women Apache helicopter pilots and stuff like
yes,
that. So, like this disconnect about what women can do and not do, framed by a
it's
male perspective, is oftentimes very troubling.
Well, with the
it's
numbers that you have, the dwindling numbers of people enlistment numbers, you have to go with what you got and make the best of what you have.
But here's the thing, though. I mean, and Jeff, you could speak on this probably as well. Like, a lot of people are not feel I feel like there's a certain population that wants to sign up and be 11 Bravo, which is infantry, or
yes,
0311 Marine infantry. All the other jobs are like support, quartermaster, sustainment and stuff like that.
yes,
Historically, people of color. We've been quartermaster, sustainment. Very few of us decide to go into combat arms or aviation, and
No.
we're still outliers. And those are the areas when you were talking about earlier where there's still some hostility. You know,
So
yeah.
if you
So
look at our leaders, most of them are combat arms and maneuver
yeah,
guys.
yeah.
There was a study or article like several years back. Why are all the African American males pushed toward sustainment, to the logistics, to things like to administration?
Hmm.
Um, and it's like when you go into there, you have your scores, you have the scores to do certain things. They it, it appears that they pick the ones they want, but while they take Gabe and they go, Gabriel, I think you will be an incredible quartermaster or a logistics officer. Because remember, in the Marines, everybody's an infantryman
Yeah,
until they go to their job training.
right.
And that's the Marines. That's their mentality. Regardless, male, female, you are an infantry person. Then you go become specialized into something else. But in the Army, it appears that the maneuver guys, the West Point guys, they get shot up the charts or shot up the top. The special forces, the Rangers, those are the guys. Very rarely do you see a chemical, a transportation officer or a transportation NCO that jumps up and leads
Hmm.
troops on that level. But
Yeah,
it's very possible. I think I'm the first in the Ohio National Guard GO that was chemical that started off as an E1.
yeah, yeah,
So you want to give people a glimpse of what's possible, but you don't want them to think that you got it because of the color of your skin. I will tell people I am just as capable of any of you guys. And if you're
yep,
better than me, my goal is to figure out why you're better than me, what you're better than me at, and 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 improve on those. Because we all have weaknesses that we deal with every day.
yeah. You
And
know, if it was up to me, I do like the Brits, where everybody starts off as enlisted, and then yeah, at some point, if you want to go try for officer, you go for officer. But everybody starts off in enlistment. I don't care. Like, to me, I feel like because I go back to this caste system thing. Like, everybody should start in a certain way at the ground level to understand what that is.
I I agree
How
with
do you
that,
feel about that?
but I don't agree with that overall because there's different levels of education, different expectations. If
Hmm.
we let the role of the NCO and the officer um, collide, because somebody's got to is the execution person, the
Right,
not ex, has to execute the plans. The officer is supposed to come up with the plans. The NCO is execute and train the soldiers. And so
right.
when that gets blurred, when those lines get blurred, you start having issues, or they're too weak of an officer to command that organization or command that unit. Or if you, what I was told as a young officer was, get you a good platoon sergeant, which I
Yep.
was blessed and got lucky and got a good platoon sergeant that will help train and develop you and
Hmm.
teach you. And if you have a company commander that's invested in you, because again, like I said, no different than when you're an E5 or E6. When you're a lieutenant, you do some stupid shit.
Yeah, you're the exo
You-
bitch. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
you're yeah, usually that, but you make some
Uh,
dumb decisions, and
yeah,
depending, there's somebody there that could crush you for making those decisions.
yeah,
But when we start deploying people, making those decisions has a different meaning. You have people's lives in your hand. You're
yeah,
pulling guard duty for real. You are out on patrol for real. You're escorting this convoy for real. It ain't blanks. It ain't miles gear. It is people putting IEDs in the middle of the road and trying to take you out. And they don't care how much they kill. And you have to do training and repetition. You have to
yeah,
actually care about the person and let them know. You have to be able to see inside when there's an issue, and when there's fears and concerns. I don't think you can go on that John Wayne shit to me is out the park. You're training
TV,
a
man.
different level of, my oldest daughter's graduating next year.
Hmm.
I don't. She's not going in the military, but I got kids that are that age coming into the military, going infantry, going field artillery, going CAV, MP. That you are going to have to train up to a certain level, give them the expectations of what their job really entails, and that you expect them to do their job to the best of their ability. We talk
Yeah,
about lethality in terms of, lethality means different things. We've heard it on the football. They've got a lethal offense. Well, for me, lethality means do your job better than anybody else. And the
yeah,
combination of doing that along with everybody else doing their job will make you a lethal organization, whether that's a transportation officer, field artillery, whether that's the door gunners, anything that you do, you have to be able to do it to a high level. And if you're not training to that level, training to the expectation, you're going to get a lot of what we see now. That's why Russia doesn't have NCOs. Not many people knew that. That's why Ukraine was whooping their ass for a while, but the size of
hmm,
Russia overall. But you need that NCO to be there to shape, mold, mentor, develop those younger soldiers to do that job and have that officer do their role and sometimes stay the hell out of their way.
yes. Well,
So,
that joke is, if you mischaracterize like a senior NCO as an officer,
yeah,
what's the comeback? I work for a
I
living.
work for a living. Yes.
you know,
Yeah.
but then, you're talking about also the interesting sweet spot with the warrant officer who kind of
Yes.
straddles both worlds,
The
with that.
subject matter expert.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
So, but no, I totally hear you. I just feel like sometimes, like, we this caste system that our society operates in, and even with the military, it still has this lingering thing, you know what I mean,
Yes.
between officers and your first sergeant is your shop foreman, so like any young officer worth their salt should connect with their first sergeant, to learn the ropes. but
Yes.
but sometimes,
Well,
you know I mean, but it's give or take. That's all I'm saying. I mean, and I think it's also with the training up, because let's say you have an 8 up officer or senior NCO, and they're passing down their faulty foundations because that's all they know, and they're
yes.
passing it down until somebody can course correct. And I think sometimes, like with our problem with our military right now, with our with the quality recruits coming in, I mean, yeah, we got some real ones, and then you got some
Yeah.
people like I'll see on
Well,
I'll see on like TikTok, and I'm hearing them babble and stuff. I'm like, why are you even in the fucking military?
stop using TikTok as a
But no,
advantage.
but I'm just saying that's a big platform for a lot of people.
Yes,
And I'm not
but
saying it's not the only thing. I granted, but the
yes,
people I've seen on there, if I didn't see anything else, if I was a Chinese operative or whatever, I'd be looking at this,
but
and I'm being silly, but like, the
no,
American service member,
but you
yeah,
look at this overall size of the military, right?
right,
And the National Guard across the 50 states and the 4 territories, there's 350,000 members, service members,
okay,
right? You see some guys on the weekend that are fat, out of shape, you immediately go nasty guard, or we get that
neighborhood
perception.
girl, yeah,
But that is not by any means
right,
the whole,
yeah, no,
you
true,
know.
true indeed, true
So
indeed,
we have this thing that the picture in my head is this. And when I went to I was lucky. Every school I went to was active duty school.
okay, good,
And so
yeah, yeah,
you would hear the nasty guard, National Guard, comments and shit like that. And again, that switch clicks, and I'll show you type of
yeah,
thing. But
yeah,
we, I think we have to. We don't know who's what. There's active duty people that are less than capable,
yeah,
that are still in their jobs, whether that's
yeah,
physically, mentally, whatever you want to call it. There are National Guard people, some less than capable. there are some extraordinary members of the National Guard,
Sure.
the Army Reserve, the Naval Reserve. We have a thing called the State Defense Forces, the militia people. There's some capability there. Just have to tap it and find the capability, and
Right.
sometimes cultivate it. But I don't think we can. Nothing against TikTok. I'm not on TikTok because
Yeah.
I just think that's China collecting information on everybody. I don't
True.
let my daughters use TikTok,
Good.
but
Good.
it's things that easy, quick information that we think is credible sources of news of this is what the Army must be like. All you need is that one soldier doing something stupid, trying to recruit.
Yeah.
Anytime I go out, I talk to young people about the opportunities that the Army gives. So in the National Guard, the scholarship program
Yeah.
that paid for me to go to Kent State is now open to journeyman's cards, firefighters, police academy,
Oh, good.
electricians.
Good.
Trying to expand it because, as we all know, college ain't for everybody.
Yeah. No, very
So
true.
trying to sell that college. We have relationships in Columbus, Cleveland, Cincinnati with the police departments, the fire departments, the Shaker police chief. I talk to like once a month, twice a month, and trying to gear young African American males, young females to the Shaker Police Department. We had a guy who was on the Shaker Police Department. He probably deployed 12 times since 1998.
Wow.
But that erodes the relationship because as a officer, he was getting paid more
Hmm.
than he was at the police department, and he was not giving them ample time to react. So you're for us in the National Guard, we're trying to build those relationships.
Yeah.
Of
No,
course,
indeed.
right now with Shaker, we got and that remind me of something else. We got the Shaker Cleveland Heights shit going on with the National Guard and active duty. I don't like you. Why I don't like you? Because you seem like you're different, or you have this reputation, or you have this view, or whatever. But in reality, there was more that from Shaker and Cleveland Heights that was the same than there was different.
Well,
But
let
you
me,
couldn't say that.
since you're on that, what are the challenges you are facing in your job and the National Guard as a whole with this social unrest that is becoming the worst that it has been since the 60s? How are you addressing that? And what are
So
some of your concerns?
we have a list of police officers, firemen, prison guards that we try our best not to call up. It was interesting based on our relationship, when the stuff happened in Cleveland, we were able to talk with the police officers and have police officers who were members of the National Guard on the ground. It's very unsteady because the military only reflects society, right?
Exactly.
So
And
we have
that's
challenges with. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
well, when you were saying how people do their jobs to certain levels, it's
Yes.
just reflective of society. So,
So-
but you are tasked with protecting
Yes, those
the
people.
state and the country. Yeah. So,
Yes. So
you've
we
got
have
bigger
challenges with sexual assault. We have challenges with political views. The Army is supposed to be apolitical. It'd be hard pressed to tell some of these people that. And some
Yep.
of the discussions that we have, the misinformation or the belief in this person over that person and what they've done for them and how they're better and things of that nature. And it caused me some issues during the 2016 election.
Hmm.
It caused me some challenges of viewing certain people as I don't think they would have my back, or are they closet racism? Are they misogynistic or anything based on their views?
It
Yeah.
feels like we're going backwards, and we're starting to feel some of the things that the black soldiers felt
Yes.
during Vietnam
Yeah.
as infantrymen, looking
Not
at
just
people.
Vietnam, World War II.
World War II, yeah, exactly.
I did a speaking engagement with the triple nickel parachute guys.
Yes.
And they were honoring one of the guys. This was back in 2014. And I remember they were down at Bragg, which is
Yep.
Fort Liberty now, I think,
Yes.
doing training. And they were all in those white little World War II house. And it was about to storm, so they had to go build trenches to, dig around the barracks so that
Wouldn't be for flooding.
Drainage,
wouldn't
yeah.
flood. Yes. They were given spoons, knives, and forks to dig these trenches. And they knew it was more just to say that they couldn't get the job done, anything else. And to hear this guy say, it's like, so what happened? We dug our trench. We used our spoons, knives, and forks, and we dug. And to see the resolve in his eyes, the resilience in his eyes, and I'm thinking to myself, going, the little shit I have to deal with,
Yeah.
and what they had to deal with, I can cope. I can learn how to, accomplish the mission without giving up who I am and who I've become and who I'm growing to be. And so having those discussions but having the ability to have those talks with some of those guys from previous eras and the things they have to do. And when I got promoted to general and you walk around, you still get their perceptions. You walk in a room and you're in civilian clothes and, nobody says anything. And then somebody walks in and goes, "Hey, General Watkins, how you doing?" And to watch the people's eyes perk up and stuff like that. And you can see the issues in some of the people that look a little different, but the ones that look like us, you can see that pride and be like, "Hey, there's a brother here that's a GO." And the next thing you know, there's people coming in the office. And to be able to see that, because regardless of what I do, I'm always going to be known as General Watkins now.
Yeah. Representation.
And at Shaker, did I see that? No. Were there people there at Shaker, especially teachers, that did see that potential and tried to push and cultivate that? Mr. Brown, Miss Judy Curran, Mr. Reed, of course, Coach McIntyre.
McIntyre, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, there were people there that saw that and was like, Staff Sergeant Gilbert, that when I was a private, I was up clowning one night, and he was like talking to my dad, "Watkins, I'm disappointed in you." And having that hit you like a ton of bricks, to have somebody you respect say that, and knowing that they're like, because he's like, "I know what you are capable of.
Right.
You just don't know it yet." But it's still, does walk in certain rooms and certain 04, 05s see that you're a general and they have to do a double take or something like that.
Yep. Cognitive dissonance.
We're still dealing with that. Yes.
Yeah,
we're still dealing with that.
Yeah, you can never let your guard down. You can never let your guard down.
No.
We were in a meeting one time, and we were picking people to go to another job. And I selected this one guy, and they were like, "Well, this guy doesn't want him." Well, why not? He doesn't like him. He doesn't like him. Why? He just doesn't like him. Please tell me, like, the guy kicked his kid or spit on his wife. Give me some reason why he's lazy. No, he just doesn't like him. We don't pick people because we don't like them. I don't like anybody in this room, but we still have to work together. I had a complaint filed against me when I said that, and the Inspector General came and talked to me about it. I was like, I was using it as a way to get my point across. I did not say that to anybody directly. I was trying to get them. We don't make selections because of how we personally feel against somebody. We make selections based on fact. And a lot of the people right now, some people I work with don't have that understanding.
Right.
If you disagree with them, it's because you don't like them. No, I disagree with you because I think what you're doing is stupid. I just can't say it that way.
Right. Yeah. No, those lines get blurred. And it's also about, like, who frames the conversation, and
Yes.
then it's all, and then when that's tested, it's like, oh, we're gonna move the goalpost. That's not what I meant.
All the time.
Yeah, yeah,
Talk
but
about the police. Because
yeah,
I stopped counting. I've been stopped by the police like 42 times.
wow,
Wow.
You
And
know, and I
what's the
stopped counting.
reaction when you show them your
Some of
military
them,
credentials?
I'd say 3 of those were legitimate speeding. I got this bad thing. I got these numbers on my speedometer. I try to use all of them,
that
but
foot.
yeah. Um, some of them were. It was. The one time that stands out, I was told I fit the description of a known drug dealer, and so I'm in a Hyundai Elantra. I'm just driving, going to work,
Yeah.
and the guy said he walks up. And this is stupid, immature Jeff. I was probably 28, and he says, "You got any weapons in the car?" And I was like, "No, they're at home with the drugs."
Oh, wow.
And
Oh, dude,
I knew
dude.
I shouldn't have said it.
Yeah.
I knew it was stupid, but there was like 3 police cars that pulled up after I made that comment. They wanted to check the vehicle, so there's a frustration that comes with
Yes.
being stereotyped,
Yes.
because regardless of what happens, we all walk in a room, we're still African American males. I'm
Yeah.
6 foot tall, 235. I'm still going to be the big black guy,
Mm-hmm.
regardless. And till I walk in the room with my uniform, I could walk in the room with my uniform on and get all kind of, respect and thank you for your service. Go home, switch into sweats, and go into that same room and have people grabbing their purses or whatever, and
Mm-hmm.
shying away from me. And then then you start speaking. You're the passive aggressive of you're
You're
pretty
quite
articulate.
articulate.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes. And
Uh,
intelligent.
I
should
always
I talk
equate
like this, boss?
Yeah.
I always equate the problem with, and I associate in a lot of people due to sports. And you're in Columbus, so you know the Bosa brothers, Nick and Joey Bosa, and you know their political
Yes.
stance. And I
Yes.
always wonder how they can play on a team in a predominantly black sport and how that they can get along. And I guess I can equate it to the military. You know your job, you do your job, and you respect your expertise
Yes.
in certain circumstances. And you might not agree politically or what have you, but you still know that you have a job to do for the greater good. But
Yeah.
that also scares me too. I mean,
Well, it depends on who's looking at the picture. You got what's her name, Taylor Swift. People freaked out because she was in the Super Bowl for 30 seconds, and because the NFL shows her every 10 minutes, they show her on the screen.
Right.
Somebody asked me if that bothered me, and I said no, because I have 2 daughters. I want my daughters to know that you're capable of doing anything. I want my daughters to be
Mm-hmm.
empowered to believe that they can do anything. And to me,
yeah.
when guys complain about that, what they're saying is to their kids or wife is be smaller, be less than, be this. But it depends on which side of the table those views are on. The bolsters are different. In the military, you have to be careful. You can't outwardly criticize the president of the United States or the governor, because we have 2 commanders in chiefs.
Yeah.
And so you've had some people do that, or as soon as they retire, you get what they really think and what their views really are. I've had people tell me, I gave Obama a chance. I could give a damn less what you did with your
Right.
vote.
Right.
Yeah.
You voted. I don't care how you voted. Don't try to tell me to vote for uh, subject A when I don't think that subject A has any principles, any morals, any values. And it's not just the way that subject A talks, it's the way subject A acts. And if you don't agree with subject A, the first thing it does is start attacking you personally or
Mm-hmm.
attacking this or the ignorance that comes behind it. I don't want to follow a person like that. and that sometimes gets mingled up with what our job is and the orders that come from those people above you, things of that nature.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I like this interesting documentary, War Games. That came out.
Yes.
That those scenarios, those real based scenarios that they were role playing. I mean, it's to me that was that's very frightening. And I feel for folks like you in your position. God forbid, that type of scenario or some variation of it presents itself, and you have to be looking around like, okay, who's on the team and who, and especially from like your level of like, I think about the National Guard and the accessibility that some people may have to certain things, in places like armories and stuff like that.
Yes.
um, that to me is the biggest concern, with that.
Yeah, it is. It's always on your mind. Is
Yeah,
I think our parents made some of this stuff look easy, but it's always talking to my daughter. My daughter was just named homecoming queen
Well,
congrats.
congrats.
2 weekends ago, and 30 minutes at the dance after she was named, somebody walks up to her and told her, "You only won because you were black."
Mm. Yeah,
So
it's reared its ugly head, man, and
yes,
it's a factor. We cannot ignore it.
you
I just
know,
think about, like, I was just reading about the plot to take out Governor Whitmer in Michigan.
yes,
I
as
mean, that's become a normality now. The
yes.
possibilities of that happening anywhere.
Well,
All
so is
right, so
saying let's have the purge.
right,
Yeah,
right.
give me
Or
a
I
day.
mean, think about, so where were you when people rolled up on the Ohio State House a few years back? Were you?
I was the director of the joint operations. So
Yeah,
during COVID, I was in charge of all the operations that the Ohio National Guard did. I
yeah.
worked directly for General Harris. I was also a commander of what we call the Homeland Response Force. So we were the ones that came up with the com plans that we had to put this many military police here or our National Guard reaction force. So we
Hmm.
had to put people down here in Columbus uh, and guard certain infrastructure. We put people up in Cleveland. I want to say it was like 1,400 on a Saturday. By 1,600, we had over 400 military police and infantry guys ready to go.
Mm.
Either down here in Columbus and Cleveland, Cincinnati and Dayton said they were able to handle their situation. And we had people there, unfortunately, potentially, some were locked and loaded because when
Mm.
the debate, if you remember, the debate came shortly after that. And then we had people get sent down to DC for
Yeah.
January 6th, and they were down there for 5 months.
Mm.
And that was a different atmosphere as they fenced off DC like they did. I
Yeah, I
don't know if
remember
you went
that.
up to Cleveland during the RNC and how they fenced off downtown Cleveland. So the unit I
Hmm.
was in then, we were working out of FBI headquarters with the CIA, and we had devices that could notice a change in the not just the atmosphere, but detect certain chemical orders and things like that.
You had your own
So
version of the shot spotter. Like,
yes,
yeah. Hmm.
so huge responsibility, but
Yeah.
it was it was go go go. You're working 7 days a week, 15, 16-hour days, trying to stay on top of this. Where are the hot spots? Where are the things that are going to get us in trouble? We had people at food banks. We had people in the hospitals. We had people, unfortunately, working at some morgues. We had nurses in the senior citizen assisted living facilities. We probably called up a total over those 2.5 years, 7,000 people.
Wow.
So I can imagine what you'll
So
be doing November 5th. You'll definitely be on the ready November 5th, 6th.
November 5th has us very concerned. but not just November 5th, but
It's after.
November leading up to inauguration for the next 4 months.
Yeah.
If candidate A loses, what is that going to look like? And is it going to be another 4 years of it was stolen, this or that? Or the other candidate loses, what type of threats are there going to be? What type of protests, what type of riots are there going to be? And knowing that some people believe that candidate A should win that are in uniform.
Yeah.
And what is that movie Civil War? I remember the first time. I don't know if even one of you saw that one.
I
Oh, we
saw it.
had
I
a
have a
show
lot of
about it.
thoughts on it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we had a
Yeah.
show
We did a
about
show
it.
about it.
But the first time I saw the trailer, scared the shit out of me
Yeah. Oh, wow.
because I was like, we are not too far from that. And are you going to be able to call soldiers up? Uh, and the guard, 88 counties, um, number of people, 17,000 soldiers. We live in a lot of these counties.
Yeah.
So, if what happened in Milwaukee, what happened in Seattle, Portland, if that happened here, are you going out? How many weapons? I got coworkers who have 20,000 rounds of ammo,
Yeah.
things of
Yeah.
that nature. So we are trying to build plans just in case to be prepped. They wanted at one time, I want to say the one guy wanted us in the polling places, but we're like, we're not putting uniform members in polling places. I
Well,
don't think we can do that.
there's a group called Vet Voice. I signed up with them to potentially work at the election polling spaces. So their whole thing is to get veterans involved working at the polling
Yes.
spots. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm going to be situationally aware uh, because of that, because of what
Yeah.
may happen, could happen, especially
Yes.
in places that might
Well,
not be well known.
Cleveland,
polling
Cincinnati,
places.
Columbus are all,
Yeah.
purplish or whatever. The
Yes.
outside ones, if you have to go
Everything is
vote
red.
there, if you
Yeah.
live between Ashland and Worcester,
Yeah.
you're a person of color and you go to vote someplace. If you're not, for me, I've never had any problems. But when I walk in without my uniform, am I
Yeah.
going to have issues, things of that nature? Um, I think Ohio's going to be one of those states that's a hot spot. Pennsylvania's going to be one of those.
Yeah.
Of course,
Especially.
Michigan,
Wisconsin. Yeah.
um, Wisconsin again, Arizona, North Carolina. Um, and I
Well,
think communication's got to improve across the board, and understanding has to improve, and the misinformation has to stop.
big time.
Well,
Or
it's not. It's not going to stop.
yes,
Well,
you
I will
know,
say this on my behalf, General. If you need a call up of volunteers, send me.
all right.
You know what team I'm down with. Send me. Send me. I don't care. Send me. I've lived a good life.
I got you. We
Yeah.
can send Eric. Eric, you remember biology class? Or do you still like what's the name of that damn group? ABC?
Yeah. Well, it's funny that you say that. I saw them in Cleveland, and I just put up a gigantic poster. There it is.
Oh,
They just was I that outwardly about that back in the day?
well,
I didn't know.
I remember me and Todd Schechter and you used to have conversations, and Todd Schechter would be like, I think that was his last name. He'd be like,
Yeah,
Duran
now
Duran
it's Todd
dresses
Lane.
better, and you
Oh,
would
okay.
be
I didn't know
like
we had those. I didn't even know
ABC.
I didn't even know I even spoke. So
Yes,
it's nice to hear something from a different perspective. I called you
that
on
and
your pigeon toes, so you got me.
my
No, I'm
my
very proud
biggest
of that.
memory of Gabe was I knew you'd imagine the baseball team, but one of the two baseball games I came to, you got a bat, and you were messing with the guy like you were going to bunt.
Oh, you
I
Yeah.
got
don't
the
know if you
bat?
remember that.
Yeah.
Gabe
Yeah. I
did.
did. Yeah, I did get a chance to bat. I think it was like the last game, my only at bat or something, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he was up there playing around, act like he was going to bunt. It was like the only baseball game I ever came to, and so
I think I struck
that
out too. Yeah.
no, I thought he walked you
He may
because I thought
okay.
you were up there clowning, and I thought he got pissed.
Yeah, yeah. I would do that. I would like to crowd the plate and fuck around, you know, to get in a person's
And
head.
find out.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Till a fastball goes right by your head.
Yeah. But no, I mean
Finish it.
I stepped in front of pitches like in boys league on purpose just to fuck around. Yeah, I crowd the plate. Yeah. So, God smiles on babies and
Yeah.
fools, I mean, hey, so there's an interesting question. Let's talk about uniforms, okay? Because you have
Okay.
seen the evolution of the Army uniforms, right? So when I was in,
BDU to the
yeah,
ACU
ACUs,
to
but when I
the
got out, they were
OCU.
switching over to multicam. And then on the
Yes,
formal side, them
pinks and
cavalry pants
greens.
with the yellow stripe and the jacket,
Yeah,
I'm sorry. That looked. But when you guys went to pink, was it the pink and greens? Back to pink and
pinks and
greens, like
greens.
old school style. I was like, damn, why couldn't I had that uniform when I was in?
I have all of them. So
Yeah,
the blue pants with the yellow stripe, the why the jacket is blue is because according to things,
yeah,
the soldiers would take off the jacket
yeah,
and the pants faded from use and wear, is
yeah.
what I was once told. But that's my favorite uniform. I'm not a
Really?
big fan
Okay,
of the pinks and greens.
okay.
I do have the pinks and greens though. I still have my army greens from when I first went to basic training. I can't
Yeah.
fit into those damn things, but uh, the ACU, I didn't like that as a uniform. I like the BDU. I like the uniform we have now.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
quite a few changes in uniforms. When I went to basic, we had our PT uniform was like this banana suit. Our brown T-shirts and these yellow
yeah.
tights and these yellow tops, and just horrible. Then we had the gray PT uniforms. Now we have the all black with the gold lettering.
Yeah. Yes.
Um,
Yep.
but
I did.
the uniforms keep changing because
Yeah.
as an officer, we have to buy our own uniforms. So that shit
What?
gets expensive, man.
Yes, it's a racket. It's a racket. Especially, all your fruit salad stuff, you got to buy those and everything. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so what's your most treasured challenge coin? For those who don't know,
I have my.
coins,
I will have to mail you one of my own personal coins.
I would appreciate that.
Um, um, I have over 100 challenge coins. I'm trying to think my most cherished one. Probably my first one
Okay.
that I
For
got
those
as
who
a
don't know,
second lieutenant.
challenge coins are these nice
Go ahead.
coins that are custom made, and people collect them in the military. All the branches have them, and there's like a hierarchy to them. Like if you get a challenge coin from the president, that's like gold.
Yeah. So this is one from an engineer officer.
Okay.
Uh, I forgot what unit this one's from. And then this one's from a sergeant major. This one's pretty cool. Which way did I go?
Oh, there. Okay.
Based on the Spartan lifestyle, Spartan warrior. So that's
Yeah.
from a colonel, general. So I will have to send you a copy of the one I have. I'll send one to both of you guys. It's
Yeah.
on one side it's a Black Panther.
Oh,
The
yeah.
Black Panther stands for the sleekness, strength, agility, being a leader. And on the other side, it's similar.
Yeah.
I wish
That's
I
from
had
the
one here. And then on the other
oh,
side,
minutes.
it's a Minuteman to say that we're always ready to, we're always there, we're always ready to fight. because the Minuteman is the symbol of the National Guard, the
That's
citizen
right.
soldier.
Get your muskets. Get your muskets.
Yes.
Ready for the call.
So we predate the Army in terms of that. So that's too funny. But yeah, we'll have to definitely get one of both of you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Appreciate that. Hey, I got to ask you, what is your favorite Shaker memory? What comes to mind when you think of Shaker? If one moment, what is that moment that describes your time at Shaker, or a favorite memory or a funny thing that happened?
Oh, man, there's too many funny things that happen and hanging out. So there's like 2 fun bunches, I think. But
2 fun bunches, you said?
Stacy Jackson, Monica Bruton, Dinah Jacobs, Wendy Martin, Heidi. I can't think of Heidi's name. They would hang out too, and they were just fun to hang around with and goofy, stupid, silly stuff. I don't know if I really have, hanging out with lifelong friends. Just hanging out with friends, doing different groups. Didn't have one specific group in Shaker. And high school, Steve, Haley, Craig, Marty Zell, Paul.
What would you do on a typical Friday night or Saturday night? Where would you end up in high school?
What every other Shaker kid did, find the kids' parents who were out of town and see if there was a party there. And go down to Buckeye Beverage or the one down Chagrin Kinsman Boulevard, get alcohol. My stepdad owned a bar at the time as well. So just looking for a party or hanging out, unless it was during wrestling season, and then trying to, starve myself the day of the match or the week of the match, eating everything in the world after weigh-ins, and then starving myself the whole next week.
Put on that.
I also hung around a bunch of Beechwood kids too. I hung around a bunch of Beechwood guys. I worked at D&J Seal Coating.
Yes.
2 years after I graduated.
D&J. I did that for a couple summers too, man. You had to drive way out there to South Euclid. Yes. That was one of my favorite jobs. No lie. I loved that job. I loved that job. You got to drive around. Yep.
And then just catching up with people, like, I talked to Tamara Ross a great deal. I come down to DC every year for the Army 10 miler in October. Usually I go out to lunch or dinner with Tamara. So that's a good thing to hang out with her. Like I said, I played golf with Jason Johnson for like the last 8 years. We play once or twice a year.
Nice.
Jason is extremely good. The fact that he lets me play with him is a
where is he? Is he in Columbus? Where is he? Or is he?
He's in Toledo. He's in Toledo. Okay. Yes. His son is better than him. He's got one of his sons. His son is a tremendous golf player, and just that's the typical thing now, right? I cycle a lot. I don't run as much, so I cycle. I have a road bike that I do a lot of cycling on. I still go to the weight room.
I can see that.
I can see that. Cheerleading is a sport now because my oldest is a cheerleader. The youngest plays volleyball and track. So you're always doing things like that. I had to learn to balance for work as the girls have gotten older.
Yeah.
I was working myself into the ground, missing birthdays, missing special events. Even during COVID, I think I worked from home for a week. My oldest was like, even when you're at home, you're at work. Why are you here?
Yeah.
Exactly. So you have to learn that, because when I get out the military, probably in the next 2 years, they're the ones that's going to be there. I've been blessed that my wife has taken care of everything. She's a Columbus native. Only flaw she has, she went to Ohio State.
Why is that a flaw? Oh, fuck. Buckeyes all day.
And speaking of that, so when you said Walnut Ridge earlier, like 2 years ago, my daughter was like saying, we're at Walnut Ridge and it smelled like weed all over the place, blah, 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 and all this. And I'm like, what's your sheltered ass know about, weed? How do you know how weed smell? We done sheltered the shit out of you.
Right,
And so
right.
my wife was like, where were you at when you first smelled weed? It was like, my dad had a joint telling me he would kick my ass if he ever caught me smoking that stuff, So,
Oh,
but Walnut Ridge, man, you walk into school, she says, and it just smells like weed all throughout the place. But, you know, but that's a lot
yeah.
of it, just trying to be better than I was yesterday. And again, I think I've been blessed with tremendous opportunities.
100%,
Did I
bro.
see Officer come in? No. I remember, I think it was Bruce Gardner. I saw him. Been in the Guard for like 4 years, and he was like, "Man, when you going in the military, they got you for life." And head, I'm thinking, the hell they do. And now, 38 years, 10 months later,
Wow.
it,
Woo.
Wow.
it's given me opportunities. I've been to like 30 countries,
Yeah,
been to like 42 states, get my family chances to do things and see things, and
yeah,
it's given me a chance to go to some countries I didn't want to go to.
yeah.
But again, it's all taking opportunities. I've lost some people, unfortunately, in this profession,
Mhm. Yeah,
that you take to heart a great deal. Um, I've met some people, like I said, that are just incredible human beings. I've got brothers and sisters that I have that same shaker bond with some of my Army coworkers that my daughters call Aunt such and such or Uncle such and such. Brothers who
yeah,
aren't blood.
yep.
So uh, being at Shaker like that is, um, like I said, Shaker gave me a foundation to stand
Yeah,
on. From playing cards with my mom and my friends at my house, uh, making mistakes, learning from those mistakes, and growing and getting better, understanding that education matters. Like I said, I fluffed off in school to my senior year. My freshman year at Kent was no better, but it's given me opportunities to tell my kids stories. I think at midterms at Kent State had a .7 GPA. And I tell them, how hard you got to work to have a .7? Hard at
right.
doing nothing,
Mhm.
going out drinking beer, whatever. I constantly have no drugs, no weed. I'm waiting till I get out. Um, but it's the, the experience that the experiences that Shaker have shaped and formed me. Like we didn't have Facebook, but keeping in touch with certain people and seeing how well they're doing,
Yeah,
seeing the things that they're doing, because I think our parents made sure we had those opportunities. They moved there for a reason. None of
yep.
us knew at that time what that reason was. Um, and the people that we have met that are still part of our lives that do things. I think what you two are doing is tremendous. That you are
Appreciate it.
giving a platform to allow people to speak about these things, whether it's politics, to educate, to inform, to let people know that this is out here, and that the community that we come from had a tremendous impact on who we became or who we're still
Big time.
becoming. Uh, what is it, Highland Golf Course up there on off of Green
Chagrin.
Road,
Chagrin. Yeah,
Yeah,
green.
Chagrin?
Yeah.
I was there
Hmm.
one time. We were playing, and the one guy asked me, "Did I know somebody?" I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Who else?" And I started rattling off people, and he goes, "That ain't no damn high school. That's a damn fraternity." And it never thought about that, you know.
yeah,
You don't
yeah,
think about things that way. You don't think about
yeah.
it while you're there, and then you go out, and people all over have heard of Shaker for whatever reason, good, bad, or indifferent. They've heard of Shaker, and I think for the most part, the circle that you're in has done a lot to impact you, influence you. We were talking the other day about friends, and the one guy said, "Do you have any friends who aren't involved in your kid's life. And I was like, ain't nobody in my circle like that.
Mm-hmm.
From high school on up, I've been fortunate. Nobody's going to be in my inner circle like that. And I
Mm-hmm.
think growing up, I had friends that wanted to be better. Their parents forced them to be better. I still remember
Right.
Al Hunt and his dad going off on what'd your report card say? Or Alvin
Right.
Elder's, I was terrified of Alvin Elder's mom. And back then their moms were allowed to, dads were allowed to pop you upside the head. What kind of
Right.
report card you get? And that
Well,
shaped, I think it
the
shaped
peer
us.
pressure was
Yeah.
there too. It was very evident. I think it varied in certain circles, but Michael Singleton in the class of '83, and Michael Singleton, and what is the other guy's name? Damn, I can't think of. Oh, Chris Underwood. I mean, those guys were high achievers. You saw black
Yeah.
kids put themselves in
Chris is a
positions, and they
dentist
knew why
now,
they
isn't
were
he?
there. No, Chris works for. Last time I was in contact with him, he works for Nestle. He was executive with Nestle.
So there's, or then Gardner Kibler. One of them's a dentist, I thought. And then,
Mm-hmm.
Because of my older brother, I was exposed to a lot of 82, class of 82 and 83.
Hmm.
Like Craig Chapman, again, Alan Waller. Alan Waller is the pastor of a mega church in Philadelphia.
Wow.
Sidney Lewis, I want to say, is a doctor down in Florida.
Well,
James Ford, we talked about.
James Longs is a rock star. Known all over the world now for his band Morning a Black Star. He's also
James Long is?
he's also a master in jujitsu, like 5 whatever
Okay.
slashes or what have you, and he trained military people for Iraq.
Because there was James Davis, who was a martial arts guy. I want to say he was class of 84.
Yeah. He wore the Bruce Lee slippers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he had the baggy pants.
Tim Perkins.
Yes.
So Tim Perkins was class of 84. His mom was our Cub Scout leader when I was a kid.
Mm.
And his younger brother went to the Naval Academy. It's incredible the number of academy graduates that we had that have went through Shaker.
Shout out to Louis
Seth
Stokes.
Rosenthal, I think.
Yes.
Yes.
Seth
Rosenthal is the big wig down there in D.C.
Shout out
Blake
to Seth.
Dixon's a big-time attorney.
Yes. I saw Seth last week. I caught up with Seth last week down here.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're going to try to get him on the
like I told you, I'm coming down there next week.
Oh, that's right. You're going to be
down there next weekend.
Okay. What date? Because I may be out of town the 10th through the 15th.
I'm getting in Friday and leaving Monday.
Oh, dude, I'm going to miss you.
Yeah, you'll be out of town.
Yes.
Yep. So we usually, at this time in the show, we're almost 2 hours in. So we've talked about this before. And we usually ask who should be on the show, and you have to recruit them. I'm not even going to give you anyone to get on the show, because when you send him this show, ask Hubert McIntyre if he would come on. We really need him on this show. I've seen him in every documentation about Shaker, and it's
yes.
I
still support the Max Scholars. He still has a Max Scholars program.
Okay.
You would never ever hear me call him that H word you just used. That's either Coach Mac.
Okay.
Coach McIntyre.
Okay. I won't say Hubert. Okay.
Yeah. He can still throw me against the wall.
Or Hugh? Can we call? No, I don't want to. I'll call him Mister.
Put some respect on his name, Mr. McIntyre.
That's between you two.
Yeah. Well,
that's probably one of my fondest memories. When I was a senior. On the wrestling team, I made a bet with him that I could take him 5 times before the end of the season. Getting that 5th takedown, and he gave me this bottle of orange juice, and he wrote this note on it, and I kept that bottle for like 25 years.
Wow!
Before it broke.
Man,
it turned into a piggy bank and stuff like that. But taking him down because knowing that he can never take that away from me. So,
Right.
but I
Hey,
will
man.
work on Kim. I think Alan Waller, some of the 82 guys.
Yeah.
I think James Poor will be credible. Orlando Lowry, I want to play for the Colts.
Yeah. Also the
And for
Bengals, right?
Washington. I think he played for Washington too.
Okay.
From what I remember. Yeah.
Nate Clemens.
Oh yeah, that would.
Ohio
Do
State,
you know
right?
anyone that knows him?
98. My brother.
Okay. Yeah. If we could.
I'll have Bino work on that. Bino ain't gonna come on here, but he still works at Shaker, coaches girls track.
Oh, okay.
Tito Vasquez, Alan Freeman from class of '88, Amy Gardner from class of '88, Tamara Ross.
Okay.
You had Craig, you had Paul. There's just so many people.
Yeah.
I think you guys are just on touching the outside of it. I think, as this grows and develops, you guys are going to get some other people. That young guy that you had on Roper last week, that was incredible.
Yeah.
Oh, good. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yes.
Yeah, we need your support. We need your help because we can't reach everywhere. And
I almost want to call Coach McIntyre while you guys are online.
Go ahead.
Put him on the spot. Oh, that's funny.
You get his wife, you'll get him.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna have that veteran show in November. Hopefully, November 10th. Get you, Craig, Burgess.
Hopefully McRae.
Yeah, Bill McRae, Tracy King,
Michael High School.
Yeah,
Harvey Gardner.
Yeah, that'd be nice to have everybody on. Okay, but we'll send out some notices about that. Damn, it is. I mean, it is October, so yeah, we'll get to planning that, firming that up. From November 10th. And then November 5th, we're going to do, we'll probably switch over to Zoom and we're going to have election coverage. So we're going to run it all day, run it all evening, share the screen, have people pop in, pop out, debate, talk, cry, shout, whatever they need to do.
Okay.
And get that going. So, but all right, man. This has been an amazing conversation.
So we're coming on Wednesday, right? Wednesday.
Yes, we're coming on Wednesday, the 16th. Is that the 16th, right? Wednesday's the 16th.
Yes.
We have somebody that's not on Facebook, but is Laura McKelvey, class of 86. Laura McKelvey, class of 86, will be on Wednesday night at 8 p.m. on another episode of The Shaker Heights. We won't be on next Sunday. So, the 16th. Mark your calendar.
Wait a minute. The 20th. Don't we have Dave Richmond on the 20th?
Yeah, we have Dave Richmond on the 20th. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And then we have Todd Lane on the 27th.
Some of you may know him as Todd Spector.
Hey.
Yes.
Gabe.
Yes.
Remember what Christine Cicero did?
Oh man, see
Greenwood.
Oh man, and you have to rub it in today, okay? I don't even want. I turned it off when it was like 31-6. I turned it off. I don't even want to know what the score is.
I don't watch the Browns.
Yeah. The Browns.
So who does your Steelers play today? Do they play today or do they have a bye
tonight?
Oh, it's tonight.
They play tonight, Dallas.
Well, may they lose.
We got a great coach. Hey, we're going to sign off. We'll talk. We'll talk to you on the other side.
Begrudging respect to the Steelers. All right. For ladies and gentlemen, it's been another. We've been blessed with another great guest of Shaker excellence, Jeff Watkins. And if you see him on the street, you address him as General Jeff Watkins. F around and find out. All right. This has been another episode of the Shaker Heights. Experiences may vary. Signing off. Hooah. I'm trying to end the stream. There we go.